Hi everyone, this is Alex and welcome to the 6th episode of my vlog already. To be fair, the vlog hasn't been going exactly how I expected it to, so please, if you do enjoy my content, make sure to like it, subscribe to my channel and maybe share it with your friends. Today we have the craziest game up to now, the bounty game. Remember the rule, the more hands in a row you win, the bigger the prize. And it's up to 10k for winning 5 hands in a row, which is about 2000 big blinds. There's also a smaller bounty for winning with 6-9 or 7 deuce, which is just enough to allow me to punt a bit. But no spoilers, let's get into the hands. I promise you some really crazy action. We start the stream all short, so as expected, in the first hand we already get it in. Regis open shoves under the gun for 500, DMX has an easy call with king, and I think my ace-jack is good enough to put it in, closing the action. Board comes down, queen 7-4, turn 6, river 9, the kings hold, and we lose the first pot. No problem though, the first bounty game I played started exactly the same and I ended up as the biggest winner. If you haven't seen that vlog, make sure to check it out on this channel, and let's see how this one turns out. I open king 10 off from +2, DMX flats the button, and Tudor completes on the straddle. Flop king 4-2 is very good for me, so I'm quite surprised to see Tudor go for a lead of 4. I expect this to be pretty mergy, so I put in a raise to 125. Now DMX on the button re-raises to 250. Tudor folds and it's back on me. I thought DMX wouldn't do this with a worse value hand, and best case scenario he has some combo draw. I decide to make a nitty fold, which turns out was very wrong. Next hand, the game is already quite heated up, so Tudor open shoves for 420. Andre with only 375 calls, and I'm happy to see a sexy pair of 9s. The players behind me are quite deep, so I take some time to think, but knowing Salahat is definitely capable to call worse, I think shove is the best option. I go all in for 1045, and after a while Salahat finally finds a fold with king 7. Board comes down, king 3-3-5-4, I hold against queen 10 and ace queen, scooping a nice spot while Salahat hits life. Andre opens to 75, I 3-bet 8-9 suited from +2, everyone falls to Salahat in the small blind, but we know he doesn't let a hand go easily, so he flats. Andre also calls and we go 3 ways to a flop of jack 8-5. I think this one's close, but if villains are wide enough and don't check raise too often, we can definitely put in a small value/protection bet. I bet 200, Salahat continues with his gut shot, Andre folds. The 6 of hearts turn brings us a lot of extra equity, but Salahat decides to lead for half pot. Knowing he can get quite spewy, and it's not unlikely he'd call a decent amount of worse hands, I just shove here. Salahat calls with only an over and a gut shot. We run it twice, he gets lucky on the first one, hitting a split. On the second board, I hit a flash and I win 3/4 of the pot. In addition to the bounties for winning hands in a row, we can also win 200 for taking down the pot with 7 deuce. Yeah, not a lot of money. Still, I pick it up and I open 250 from the hijack. Antemir with a bounty calls the button, the blinds and the 2 straddles call as well. Not exactly what I imagined when I opened this one, but anyway, flop comes down queen 9 deuce. Salahat leads for 200. I did consider raising, but I doubt he's bluffing here like this into so many people, so I just call, hoping to hit trips or 2 pair. Of course, I didn't know he had top 2. Antemir also calls, the turn brings a 10, and Salahat goes for another half pot bet. Not hitting anything, I now have to fold, which turns out good as I was completely dead. Next one, I open king 10 suited over the straddle from +1, Regis from +2 goes for a 3-bet, and I call. I think this hand is actually a bit too weak and I would have preferred a 4-bet or a fold. Anyway, we see a flop of ace-jack deuce, bringing us a gut shot and a backdoor flash draw. Regis goes for a small c-bet, and I go for a 400 check raise. I could get few better hands to fold and also have opportunities to barrel on some runouts. Regis calls and the turn isn't one of those I can bet on frequently. Luckily, it goes check-check and we bink the straight on the river. The flush also gets there, but I think I should definitely go for some thin value here. In game though, I just check and probably leave some money on the table against his ace-4. However, I do pick up the bounty. Next hand, Andemir opens from +1, Andrei Wu, who was quite tight up to now, 3-bets the small blind to 250, and I pick up a nice king-jack suited on the big blind. Very easy 4-bet with the bounty game dynamic, so I put in 750 and they both fold, winning me the pot and an extra 400 for winning 3 hands in a row. Next hand, I pick up ace-jack offsuit in the small blind. 3 people limp to me and I decide to make it 200. If I win this hand, I win a bounty of 800, so definitely don't mind taking it down pre-flop. However, my opponents don't want to let me win, they get sticky and I get called by straddle, +2 and button. We see a flop of queen deuce deuce, quite difficult for them to hit something here, so I try a small c-bet. They all fold, winning me my 4th hand worth 800. Not only that, but if I win the next hand, I pick up the whole bounty pool worth around 9k. The big hand of the night, DMX limps, Tudor goes for a 35 ISO, cut of calls, and I pick up a horrendous hand. 9 deuce offsuit. I have 5k in my stack and only big blind covers me. So I have to get it in with any 2. Remember that if I win the hand, I'll get a bounty prize worth 9k. I shove, Regis and Andreu both call. I get it in against ace-8 and king-8 and I have a slight bit of hope. That hope is instantly killed by the king-jack-jack flop. But wait, the turn brings a 4 of spades. Now a spade river could win us the whole pot. River comes down, 5 of clubs, and we lose a big pot and the chance to get the big bounty. I open 7 deuce suited from +2, hoping to get the bounty, but Regis 3-bets and DMX cold calls. At this point, I thought I could put in a 4-bet, considering there's some dead money in the pot. I don't think DMX has a good hand very often, and Regis is disciplined enough to fold to 4-bets pretty often. Of course, I'm kind of wrong, as the bounty for 7 deuce is only 200, but I thought, wow, why not punt? I 4-bet to 800, Regis lets it go, but DMX calls. Board comes down, jack 6-2, 2 diamonds, 1 spade. I thought my opponent would have a decent amount of overcards and maybe even lower pairs that would fold to high pressure, so I decided to shove. However, my opponent hits top pair and snap calls, making me lose another big pot with a big punt. Tony limps under the gun, I ISO the cutoff to 60 with a6 suited, Antemir in the small blind 3-bets, but we know he's going to be quite wide, fighting for the bounty. DMX calls the big blind, and we've also seen him being quite wide. Tony folds, and it's back on me. With so much dead money into the pot in this dynamic, I think getting it in with a suited ace brings money. I shove, and they both fold, winning me a nice pot. I now make a straddle to 40, Antemir opens the button to 150, small blind and first straddle call, and I complete. Flop, jack 3-3 brings us top pair. We face a c-bet from Antemir, it folds to me and I flick in a call. Turn 5 brings us 2 pair. No reason to lead, we check and our opponent bets again, 1000 into 1.2k. Not a spot where I wanna raise much, especially as this hand isn't all that strong. I call, which keeps the bluffs in his range, and I hope he fires river with them too. Antemir checks back on a blank 7 diamonds, and we take it down. Tony opens the hijack to 120, knowing he can be quite wide and not expecting folds to 3-bets, I flat jack 10 offsuit on the button. Maybe a bad idea with Antemir in the blinds, but he picks the nitty option and he just calls. We go 3-way to a 8-8-6 flop, it checks to me and I put in a small bet. I can get a lot better to fold and I also have some decent backdoors. Flop bet is enough to get them to fold. Right, this was the game. I didn't win anything but experience. Still, I had a lot of fun and it's always a nice experience playing these wild, crazy games. It would have been even nicer if I didn't punt a whole stack with 7 deuce. The reality is we actually played a little bit after the stream and I ended up the night in profit, but not a lot. I think I won about 1k or something like that. So yeah, not as bad as it looks like. Stay tuned for the next episode and again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe in order to see the next fun vlogs.